Elias, the human janitor, walked quietly through the long, empty corridors of the space station. Most of the time no one noticed him. He cleaned floors, wiped windows, and carried out small tasks, invisible to everyone around him. The station was huge, filled with alien species from all over the galaxy. Humans were rare here and usually did the low-level work. Elias didn't mind. He liked his simple life, and he liked helping where he could, even if no one saw. That night, as he pushed his mop down a quiet hallway near the biohabitat section, he heard a soft sound. It was faint, almost like a tiny cry. He stopped and listened. The sound came again. A soft, desperate noise that made him pause. Elias followed the sound carefully, keeping to the shadows. He had seen many strange things on the station, but this sound was different. It sounded small, weak, and scared. When he turned the corner, he saw a small figure lying on the floor near a broken containment gate. It was a hatchling, a young dragon, smaller than a human child. Its scales were dull and cracked, and it shivered as it tried to move. Its wings were folded tightly, and its eyes were half closed. Elias could see the hunger in its gaze. It was weak, maybe even dying. Elias's heart tightened. He knew this was not normal. Dragons were highly protected, especially young ones. Any human who touched a royal hatchling could be punished severely. Yet, when he looked into the small dragon's eyes, he didn't feel fear. He felt pity and something else, a strange sense of responsibility. He reached into his bag and pulled out his dinner. It wasn't much, just some bread and protein cubes, but it was all he had. He knelt down and set it on the floor near the hatchling. At first, the little dragon didn't move. Its small body shook as it tried to focus on the food. Then, slowly, it leaned forward and nibbled at the bread. Elias smiled softly. "Eat," he whispered, almost afraid the dragon wouldn't understand him. The hatchling lifted its head and made a small chirping sound like a thank you. Elias chuckled quietly. He didn't know if dragons really spoke that way, but it felt like a connection. He stayed there for a while, watching the hatchling eat. He could feel its tiny body gaining a little strength with every bite. Elias knew he had to be careful. If anyone found him here, he could be in serious trouble. But something inside him refused to leave the hatchling alone. It was too weak, too small, too helpless. He set his hand gently on its head, feeling the rough scales. The hatchling leaned into him, closing its eyes. It trusted him. Elias had never seen anything like it before. No human had ever been this close to a dragon hatchling. He whispered stories to it while it ate. Simple stories about his life, the station, and the small joys of being human. He didn't know if the hatchling understood, but it seemed to enjoy the sound of his voice. Its wings twitched slightly and it curled closer to him. Elias felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't felt in a long time. It was a feeling of connection, of purpose. When the food was gone, the hatchling looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. It made a small sound, almost like a sigh of relief. Elias patted its head gently. "You'll be okay," he said. He didn't know how, but he believed it. He cleaned up the crumbs quietly and stood up. The hatchling watched him carefully, tilting its head as if to understand what was happening. Elias smiled and whispered, "I'll come back." As he walked away, he couldn't stop thinking about the little dragon. He had no idea whose child it was, but he felt a strange bond forming. Even if it was dangerous, even if it could cause problems for him, he couldn't ignore it. He had given it food, and in that moment he felt more alive than he had in years. Back in his small quarters, Elias sat on his bunk and thought about the hatchling. Its tiny face kept appearing in his mind. He wondered if it would survive until morning. He wondered if anyone else would find it first. But deep down he knew he had done the right thing. It didn't matter that humans were small, weak, and powerless compared to the dragons. In that moment, his kindness was his strength. Outside, the station was silent, cold, and still. But in one dark corner of the biohabitat, a small dragon hatchling had found a friend. And a human janitor had found a purpose far greater than cleaning floors. He didn't know it yet, but this simple act of kindness would change everything. Elias finally lay down, exhausted but smiling. He could still hear the soft chirps in his mind, the small heartbeat of life he had saved. He knew he would return tomorrow, and he knew he wouldn't be alone anymore. Something extraordinary had begun, and it all started with a human, a little food, and a small dragon hatchling who needed help. The next morning, Elias woke before sunrise. The station was quiet, except for the hum of engines and the occasional footsteps of early workers. He quickly dressed and grabbed a small pack with leftover rations, hoping to return to the hatchling. He didn't know if it would still be there. Maybe someone had found it. Maybe it had wandered off. But he couldn't take the chance. As he walked through the corridors toward the biohabitat, he noticed a change. Guards moved faster than usual and whispers floated in the air. He couldn't hear the words clearly, but he could feel tension everywhere. Some aliens nodded to each other, pointing at security monitors. A small group of dragons passed by, their eyes scanning the corridors. Elias lowered his head and kept walking. Humans were meant to stay invisible and he didn't want trouble. When he reached the broken containment gate, his heart sank for a moment. The hatchling was not in its usual spot. Panic gripped him. He knelt on the floor, calling softly, "Little one, are you here?" His voice echoed in the quiet hall. A soft chirp answered him from behind a metal crate. He crawled carefully toward the sound. There it was, the hatchling, smaller than he remembered, shivering even more than last night. Its scales were dull and it seemed weak, but when it saw Elias, it lifted its tiny head and made a happy sound. Relief flooded through him. "You stayed," he whispered, kneeling down. The hatchling chirped again and crawled slowly toward him. Elias took a small piece of bread from his pack and held it out. The hatchling nibbled carefully, its tiny body trembling as it ate. Elias watched every movement, worried that it might still be too weak to survive. But with each bite it seemed stronger. Its eyes brightened and its wings twitched a little. Elias stroked its head gently. "You're going to be okay. I promise." He didn't know if his words meant anything, but somehow, speaking to it made him feel closer. The hatchling pressed its head against his palm, and Elias felt a small warmth spread through his chest. He realized he had grown attached in just one night. He cared for this tiny creature as if it were his own. While they were together, Elias noticed a shadow on the wall. He looked up and froze. A tall dragon guard stood a few feet away, watching silently. Its golden eyes narrowed. Elias held his breath. He knew this could be very bad. The guard stepped closer. "What are you doing here, human?" it asked, its voice low and serious. Elias swallowed hard. I found it last night. It was starving. I gave it food." His voice was quiet but steady. The guard's gaze softened slightly when he looked at the hatchling. It chirped again and nudged Elias' hand. The guard nodded slowly. "It seems the hatchling trusts you. But be warned, interfering with royal dragonkin is dangerous. You could be punished." Elias nodded quickly. "I understand. I just wanted to help. I didn't mean any harm." The guard turned and left, giving Elias a small warning glance. Relief washed over him. He didn't know what the punishment could be, but for now the hatchling was safe. Elias let out a deep breath and focused on the little dragon again. He spent the morning feeding the hatchling tiny bits of his food. He talked to it softly, telling stories about the station, the humans, and the simple joys of life. The hatchling listened, or at least it seemed to. Its eyes followed him and it chirped occasionally. Elias laughed quietly at its small, playful movements. He had never felt such a strong connection to another being before. By midday the hatchling had gained a little strength. It could lift its head higher and its wings twitched as if testing their strength. Elias felt hope swell inside him. He wanted to protect it no matter what. He couldn't leave it alone, and he couldn't imagine anyone else handling it with such care. As he packed up the last of his food, a group of station workers passed by, whispering. "Did you hear? The youngest prince is missing from the royal nursery," one said. Elias froze. The youngest prince? Could this little hatchling really be a royal child? He glanced down at it nervously. Its small eyes looked up at him, trusting and innocent. Elias realized something important. If this hatchling belonged to the royal family, his simple act of kindness could be dangerous. People might be angry. He might even be punished. But looking at the small dragon, Elias didn't regret anything. His life mattered more than rules or fear. He would protect it no matter what. Evening came and Elias returned to his small quarters, leaving the hatchling safely behind a hidden corner. He thought about the events of the day. The station was tense. Guards were everywhere. Whispers of a missing prince spread through the corridors. And yet, Elias felt something he had never felt before: purpose. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was a guardian, a protector of life. As he lay down on his bunk, he thought of the hatchling curled up, safe for now. Its soft chirps echoed in his mind. He knew tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he also knew he couldn't abandon it. Something extraordinary had begun and Elias could feel it. A human, small and simple, had made a difference. And sometimes, that was more powerful than anything else in the galaxy. Sleep came slowly, but it was peaceful. Outside the station, stars gleamed against the dark void. Inside, a small bond had formed, one that would change the lives of both a human janitor and a dragon hatchling forever. The next morning the station was unusually quiet. Elias walked to the biohabitat with a small pack of food as he did every day. His footsteps echoed in the wide hallways. Usually he could move unnoticed, but today the station felt tense. Aliens hurried past, their heads low. Guards moved in groups, scanning corridors with sharp eyes. Something was different. When he reached the hatchling's hiding spot, he froze. There, in the small corner behind the broken containment gate, the little dragon crouched, eyes wide and alert. But it wasn't alone. A massive shadow filled the corridor. Elias swallowed hard, feeling a knot in his stomach. A voice, deep and powerful, boomed through the hall. "Human!" The sound shook the metal walls, echoing like thunder. Elias turned slowly. Before him stood the Dragon Emperor himself. His scales were gold, shining even in the dim lights of the corridor. His wings spread slightly, massive and threatening, though he moved with calm authority. Elias' heart pounded. He had seen dragons before, but never one so large, so regal, so alive with power. The Emperor's eyes, amber and glowing, looked directly at him. In those eyes, Elias felt a mix of curiosity, caution, and something he could not name. The hatchling chirped and nudged Elias' foot as if trying to tell him not to be afraid. The Emperor knelt slightly, bringing his face closer to the small dragon. Elias watched silently. The hatchling chirped again, excited and happy, and ran forward to the Emperor. The tiny dragon jumped into the Emperor's claws without hesitation. Elias' eyes widened. The Emperor's massive head tilted toward Elias. "This human," he said slowly. His voice was deep, resonant, and carried authority. "He fed my son." Elias froze. His mouth went dry. He had never spoken to royalty before. He could barely imagine what might happen next. Maybe punishment. Maybe exile. Or worse. But he stood his ground. He had done what was right. He had saved the hatchling. The Emperor studied him for a long moment. His sharp gaze seemed to pierce Elias' very soul. "You showed care, without fear. You offered your food, your time, and your heart. Many others would have ignored him." Elias felt a strange warmth in his chest. The Emperor was not angry. He was impressed? Elias shook his head slightly, unsure if he imagined it. I just wanted him to survive," he said quietly. I didn't expect anything in return." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Few humans understand the value of life in such simplicity. You are small, weak in body, but strong in spirit." He extended a massive claw. Elias instinctively stepped back, afraid he might be crushed. But the Emperor stopped, holding the claw just above the floor. The hatchling chirped and nudged it. The Emperor lifted the hatchling higher and spoke softly. "My son, you are safe because this human cared for you." He turned his gaze back to Elias. "You have done a rare thing, human. A thing that few in the galaxy could ever do." Elias' legs shook. He wanted to say something, to explain that he didn't deserve this praise. But no words came. He only nodded. The Emperor's presence filled the corridor with power, yet Elias did not feel fear in the same way he had imagined. He felt respect, deep, strange, and almost comforting. The Emperor lowered his gaze and continued in a calmer tone. "Your actions will not go unnoticed. You have shown courage where rules demand caution. You have shown kindness where fear would dominate. You are remarkable." Elias' heart raced. He had never been called remarkable before. Most humans on the station were ignored, treated as simple laborers. And now, a being more powerful than any human could imagine was praising him. The hatchling chirped again and nuzzled Elias' leg. Elias knelt slowly and stroked the tiny dragon's head. "You're safe," he whispered. The Emperor watched silently, letting the moment linger. Finally the Emperor straightened. His wings spread slightly, casting a shadow over the walls. "I will not interfere with your life," he said. "But know this, your actions have consequences far beyond what you can see. Trust, care, and courage are rare. You possess them in abundance." Elias swallowed, unsure if he had fully understood the meaning. The Emperor took the hatchling in one claw and turned to leave. His massive form filled the corridor, and the sound of his steps echoed like rolling thunder. Before disappearing into the hallway, he looked back one last time. "Tomorrow you will understand the full weight of your choice." Elias watched him go, his mind spinning. He looked down at the hatchling, who chirped happily and nuzzled his hand. The bond between them had grown stronger overnight, and now it seemed to carry a new weight. Something extraordinary was coming, something beyond what he had ever imagined. For the first time, Elias realized that a simple act, sharing a small meal, had changed his life forever. He had saved a life, and in return he had earned the attention of the most powerful dragon in the galaxy. As he walked back to his quarters that evening, He felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and hope. The station seemed different now, alive in a way it had not been before. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. He didn't know what the Emperor meant by full weight of your choice, but he knew one thing. He could never turn away from the hatchling again. Outside, stars shone brightly against the dark void of space. Inside, a human janitor had become something far more than ordinary. The galaxy was watching, and the small bond between a man and a dragon hatchling was about to change everything. The next morning, Elias woke early, his heart still pounding from the encounter with the Dragon Emperor. He dressed quickly, carrying a small pack of food for the hatchling. The station felt different now. Every corridor seemed heavier with anticipation. Even the air seemed charged. Aliens moved quickly, whispering to each other, and security patrols were more alert than usual. Elias kept his head down, careful not to attract attention. When he reached the hatchling's hiding spot, he stopped in surprise. The Emperor was there. Standing tall, his golden scales gleaming under the station lights, he held the hatchling gently in one massive claw. Elias froze, unsure what to do. He had never been this close to royalty, let alone the ruler of the dragons. The Emperor's eyes, deep and wise, looked at him. "Human," he said, his voice calm but powerful, "you have shown a strength that few possess. You cared for my son without thought of reward, without fear of punishment. You have saved him when no one else could." Elias swallowed hard. "I only wanted him to live," he said quietly. "I didn't think about anything else." The Emperor nodded slowly. "And yet you acted with courage and kindness. These qualities are rare even among the strongest races in the galaxy. My son trusts you. That is proof of your heart. You have performed a deed that cannot be undone." The hatchling chirped softly, nudging Elias' hand. Elias knelt and stroked its tiny head. Its small body trembled slightly, but its eyes were bright and alive. He smiled. "You're going to be safe," he whispered. The Emperor watched, silent for a moment. Then he spoke again. "You are no longer merely a janitor. Your actions have elevated you beyond your station. I offer you a place at my side to care for my son, to ensure his safety and growth. This is not a request. It is a recognition of your worth." Elias blinked. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. A human janitor, offered a position by the Dragon Emperor himself? His mind raced. Honor, respect, responsibility, all things humans rarely received on this station. And now he was being trusted with a royal hatchling, a child of immense value. I don't know what to say," Elias stammered. "I'm just me. I've only ever cleaned floors and done my job." The Emperor's massive head tilted slightly. "That is precisely why you were chosen. Humans act in ways no one predicts. Their courage is quiet. Their kindness is genuine. You have proven that the smallest acts can have the greatest impact. You have saved a life, and in doing so, you have saved more than just my son." Elias felt a mixture of pride and fear. Pride because his simple act mattered so much. Fear because now he had responsibilities he could not ignore. But looking at the hatchling, who chirped happily and climbed onto his arm, he knew he could not refuse. The Emperor extended one claw, placing the hatchling gently in Elias' arms. The little dragon wrapped its tiny legs around him, nuzzling his chest. Elias' eyes widened, but he held the hatchling carefully, feeling its warmth and trust. I will do my best," he said quietly. The Emperor nodded. "That is all I ask. Your loyalty will be tested, your courage will be needed. But I see now that a human's heart can match the strength of any dragon. My son is safe because of you, and now, so are many others who may follow." Elias took a deep breath. He felt the weight of the Emperor's words and the importance of his new role. For the first time, he understood that humans were not weak, not insignificant. They were small, yes, but their choices, their compassion, and their courage could change the course of history. The Emperor stepped back, wings folding gracefully behind him. "Remember this, human. Trust and kindness are forces greater than fear or power. Guard my son well, and you will see the galaxy in ways few humans ever will." Elias nodded, still holding the hatchling close. "I understand," he said. "I won't let you down." The Emperor gave a final nod and turned, his massive form moving down the corridor, the hatchling chirping happily in his arms. Elias watched them go, feeling a sense of awe and responsibility settle over him. The station seemed smaller now, yet the possibilities felt larger than the universe itself. For hours, Elias walked the station corridors, thinking about what had happened. He had been a simple janitor yesterday, invisible and unimportant. Today he had been chosen by a being more powerful than any human could imagine. The responsibility was immense, but so was the honor. When he returned to his small quarters, he placed the hatchling carefully in a secure, hidden area until he could prepare a proper space for him. He fed it, spoke to it, and watched as it grew stronger with each passing hour. The bond between them deepened. The hatchling chirped and followed him, trusting him completely, and Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. That night, Elias lay down on his bunk, exhausted but awake with thought. The galaxy was full of power and danger, but he had learned something important. Courage and kindness mattered more than status or strength. A single human could make a difference, could change the path of dragons, rulers, and the fate of many. Outside, the station glowed under the distant stars. Inside, a small bond between a human and a dragon hatchling had shifted the course of destiny. Elias closed his eyes, knowing tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also knowing he was no longer just a janitor. He was a guardian, a protector, and perhaps, a hero in his own quiet way. The galaxy had noticed a small human with a big heart, and nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, Elias woke with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was the first day he would fully step into his new role. The Dragon Emperor's words from yesterday echoed in his mind. Trust and kindness are stronger than fear or power. Elias had never imagined that a small human like him could make a difference in the lives of dragons, let alone become a guardian of the Emperor's own son. He packed food, blankets, and a few simple toys he had made for the hatchling. It chirped happily from its hiding spot, seemingly sensing that something important was about to happen. Elias smiled and scooped it up gently. The little dragon wriggled in his arms, tiny claws gripping his uniform, and Elias felt a surge of responsibility and pride. The corridors of the station felt different now. Aliens and humans alike glanced at him as he passed. Some whispered, pointing at him with curiosity. Others simply stared, unsure what to make of a human chosen by the Dragon Emperor himself. Elias ignored them. His focus was on the hatchling and the task ahead. He knew that his life and the hatchlings had changed forever. When they arrived at the Emperor's personal quarters, a massive room filled with glowing panels and golden decor, Elias was amazed. The hatchling chirped excitedly, exploring its new surroundings. Elias placed it gently on a soft mat prepared just for him. The little dragon nuzzled the blankets and then looked up at Elias, eyes bright and trusting. The Emperor appeared moments later, as tall and majestic as ever. His golden scales shimmered under the light. He nodded at Elias. "You have done well, human. My son is safe because of your care. Now you will ensure he grows strong, learns wisely, and understands the galaxy in ways only a guardian can teach." Elias bowed slightly, feeling a mixture of awe and humility. "I will do my best, Your Majesty," he said. "I promise to keep him safe and help him grow." The Emperor's eyes softened. "That is enough. Trust your instincts. The bond you have formed is rare and powerful. Let it guide you. And know this, the galaxy will watch what humans can do when they act with courage and heart." As the Emperor left, the hatchling chirped and jumped toward Elias. He laughed softly and lifted it into his arms. "We've got a lot to do, little one," he said. "But I think we'll be ready." Days turned into weeks. Elias adapted to his new life as a guardian. He fed the hatchling, cleaned its quarters, and spent hours talking to it, teaching simple lessons about trust, friendship, and courage. The hatchling grew stronger, scales brighter, and wings more powerful. Each day, Elias marveled at the rapid progress and the deep bond between them. Other dragons began to notice. Some were curious, others skeptical. How could a human care for a dragon prince better than any dragon caretaker? But when they saw the hatchling chirping happily, strong and healthy, they began to respect Elias. Even the guards who had once been wary, now gave him space and watched quietly, impressed by his devotion. One evening, as the station's sun glowed through the windows, Elias sat with the hatchling perched on his shoulder. The little dragon chirped and nuzzled his neck. Elias smiled. "You trust me," he said softly. The hatchling chirped again as if answering and wrapped a tiny claw around his finger. Elias thought about his life before this moment. A janitor, unnoticed, alone in the vast corridors of the station. Now he had purpose. He had responsibility. And he had respect, not because of fear or strength but because of kindness, courage, and heart. He realized humans could do incredible things if they believed in themselves and acted with compassion. Word of the human guardian spread across the station and even to distant planets. Stories were told of the janitor who had fed a starving dragon hatchling and gained the trust of the Dragon Emperor himself. Humans were rare here and most were underestimated, but Elias had proven that a single human could change destinies. The hatchling had grown enough to stretch its wings fully. Elias watched as it flapped clumsily, testing its strength. He laughed. "You're going to fly one day, little one? And I'll be right here, cheering for you." The hatchling chirped and jumped as if agreeing. The Dragon Emperor visited occasionally, watching Elias and his son. Each time he nodded with approval, sometimes smiling, sometimes silent, but always watching carefully. Elias understood the silent messages. Trust, courage, and kindness mattered more than power. He was learning that humans could teach dragons just as dragons could teach humans. One quiet night, Elias looked out at the stars from the observation deck. The hatchling slept safely beside him. He felt a sense of calm he had never known before. He had started as a simple janitor, invisible and small. Now he was a guardian, a protector, and a friend to one of the galaxy's most powerful beings. And he realized something important. Humans may be small, but their hearts can change the universe. As he closed his eyes, Elias whispered softly, "We're ready for whatever comes next." The little dragon stirred and chirped in reply. Outside, the stars shone bright, the galaxy vast and full of possibilities. And inside the station, a human janitor and a dragon hatchling began a journey together that would be remembered for generations. A small act of kindness had become a bond that no power in the galaxy could break. And Elias, once a simple janitor, had proven that humans could be heroes in ways no one could have imagined.